Good morning, everyone, and Merry Christmas here from Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States. Feliz Navidad, mis amigos. Tan bueno estar con ustedes. I'm Beaty Ottenweller, and I am Puerto Rican from a Spanish descent and grew up overseas with an incredible love for the beauty and richness of our culture. I'm going to get to do something a little different today. I'm going to speak about one of my favorite Christmas carols, Noche de Paz. It's a song that we have already discussed in English, Silent Night, but as often happens in the translation, there's just an entirely different dimension that we get to see. Brett Kreider, my friend, got to share about Silent Night earlier, and I loved him sharing about the composer, sharing a little bit about what brought about the composition, but I especially loved hearing that he was related to him, which was so personal and so special. Noche de paz, noche de amor, todo duerme en derredor. Entre los astros que esparcen su luz, bella anunciando el niñito Jesús. Brilla la estrella de paz, brilla la estrella de paz. Or in English, night of peace, night of love. All sleep in the outskirts of the town. Among the stars that spread their light, beautifully announcing the baby Jesus, shines the star of peace, shines the star of peace. Brett did such a great job sharing about the composer and sharing a little bit more about the history, as I mentioned earlier. I want to do something a little different. I want to share a little bit about the historical context of when this was written. The song was written actually as a poem in 1816 during a time historically referred to as the year without a summer because of severe climate abnormalities that brought the coldest recorded temperatures that have been recorded between 1766 and the year 2000. That's a long time. Cold temperatures in the summer. This resulted in crop failures of major food shortages and famine and a lot of difficulties in Europe. It is believed that the anomaly was caused predominantly from a massive volcanic eruption that came from Mount Tambora, the largest that had occurred in 1,300 years. The large amount of volcanic ash and gases released in the atmosphere just blocked the sunlight and created a summer like no other. Food riots, famine became common. Europe had also seen the recent end of the Napoleonic Wars. In the song, Gruber expresses his gratitude for the peace and quiet Christmas night, free from the sound of war and the struggles of the difficult year. Noche de paz, noche de amor. Night of peace, night of love. What a beautiful carol, reminding us of what happened on that beautiful night. The night that changed everything. The night when Emmanuel was born. God Himself with us. Sometimes I think it becomes so familiar. We're not just blown away in awe that God was among us, walked with us, a Son of God here in person. Because for to us a child was born, to us a son was given. Wonderful Counselor, mighty God, everlasting Father, Prince of Peace, Isaiah 9:6 tells us. And in 2 Corinthians 9:15, it's described as God's indescribable gift. How do you describe something so fascinating? And in Ephesians 2:14, He is our peace. Isn't that what we all long for? Nights of peace and nights of love. I remember a few years after my first son was born, and life was not necessarily nights of peace and nights of love. It was very overwhelming, and I often felt like life was moving far faster than it should have or was good for me. I remember I was asked to speak at a Woman's Day on the topic, Jesus, Prince of Peace. The studying I did to prepare for that lesson had a profound impact on me. I just found myself more and more just drawn into this amazing man, Jesus, who came to bring peace, that little baby who came to bring peace just fascinated me. Peace that could sleep through a storm. Peace that could stand the ground when people criticized him and looked down on him and falsely accused him. But a peace that looked into the soul of people that were not at peace, that were tormented and out of control, and brought them peace. I just couldn't even believe that. I love the story. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I don't give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. Noche de Paz. Noche de Amor. I've seen that peace in the lives of people who know him really well and walk with him. I've tasted it at times in my life when it doesn't even make sense. You know how it says in Philippians, that peace that passes understanding. But I see it the most in my 91-year-old mom, who can't wait to meet someone she has loved for an entire lifetime, as she says all the time, but has never gotten to see in person. Mom's peace makes no sense. She's had cancer 4 times. 2 of her sons have died, her son-in-law. She's been through some really difficult times, but there is a peace that just constantly mesmerizes me to see it. You know, many of us, when we think of war, like Gruber, when he was talking about the war in Europe, and when you're talking about something, it's more like a movie scene. We don't really think of it in life, but for my mom, that wasn't true. When we were stuck in a coup when I was 9 years old, it was not peace in the night. My brothers and I and Mom just sat there hearing the tanks, hearing the machine guns, listening to the bombs falling as my mom swatted the flies off me, and she kept singing, Jesus loves you, night of love. Jesus loves me. This I know, for the Bible tells me so. You know, it was just so, I've thought about those times over and over and over again and thought, how did you do it? Were you really as calm as you seemed to me? And she shared so vulnerably about the internal struggle and the fight that she was going through at that time. But she kept going back to the Prince of Peace for answers over and over again. And I've had to learn from her to do the same, because not all my nights have been nights of peace and nights of love. There have been those times that were restless, where I was fighting to be at peace. And you may be even going through that as you face the holidays, maybe with the loss of someone you've really loved, or disappointment or heartbreak in life. And yet learning to go to that Prince of Peace. When I found out my husband had an incurable brain tumor, when I found out that he was gone and I was a widow with 3 young kids, when my second husband had quintuple bypass surgery and I just felt like it was too much, the only place I knew to go was to that Prince of Peace to get answers over and over again. Peace over and over again. Another translation says, I leave the gift of peace with you. My peace, not the kind of fragile peace given by the world, but my perfect peace. Don't yield to fear and be troubled in your hearts. Instead, be courageous. Noche de Paz, Noche de Amor. What a beautiful gift that child in the manger gave us. Not only the incredible gift of peace by being reconciled to his dad, but the incredible gift of the peace that comes from his presence on a consistent basis. Not only does he bring that peace, but he wants us to be able to overflow in that peace to other people's lives. In this Christmas, may the peace and love given to you by that child overflow into the lives of others. Noche de Paz, Noche de Amor. God our Father, thank you for the gift of peace, the gift of your child who leads us to peace. Help us never to take that for granted and to overflow, bringing peace to others. Padre nuestro, gracias por amarnos y darnos el príncipe de paz para cambiar nuestra vida para siempre. Y ayúdanos a amar a otros con ese mismo amor. Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad y próspero Año Nuevo. It's so great to be with you.